Coming up next on the Run That Back podcast, we got R&B group Intro, self-titled album Intro, 1993, Running It Back, Scorpio Moe, C.Boogie. Let's get it. Yo, what's poppin'? This your man Scorpio Moe, and this is the Run That Back podcast. And today we are back on our R. I ain't gonna lie to you, we doing a lot of R&B stuff, but it's a reason. It is a reason. The '90s were heavy into R&B, and I think it really made it stand. It's probably the last decent decade on R&B music. And with that being said, today's feature artist is the R&B group Intro with the self-titled album. We're gonna get into this one. Because I really feel like this is a respected, slept on group, but more importantly, album. So we're gonna get into it.
This is correct. This album was slept on. Intro, which stands for Innovative New Talent Reaching Out. The album came out on March 22nd. Well, listen.
The acronym was, I'm not going to lie. The acronym is a reach. But go ahead, I'm sorry. I
didn't make it up.
I was like, it meant what?
Hey, listen, I ain't making it up. But the album came out on March 22nd, 1993. Mm-hmm. The album was created by Kenny Green, another gentleman by the name of Jeff, and another dude named Clinton Buddy White. Those are the members of Intro. Their album, as you say, is self-titled, produced 4 singles. The singles were Love Thing, Let Me Be the One, Come Inside, which actually hit the Billboard Hot 100 at number 33, and their final single for the campaign of that album was the remake of Stevie Wonder's classic Ribbon in the Sky.
So let me ask you this. When was your first introduction to Intro?
The first single was my introduction to Love Thing, and that's only because...
Now, was that in 93 or was that 92?
No, it came, I believe, it was whenever they released the single. Don't ask me what that date
92.
was. That was
I remember hearing them in 92 before the album came out.
Yeah, actually the single was released on March 25th of 1993. That's when Love Thing was released.
I don't know why I do not believe that.
I mean,
why do I feel like I heard it earlier before that?
I mean, let's think about it. Back then, you could have heard it earlier, but
like I'm talking about video on rotation and everything.
No, so actually, Love Thing did not have a video. The only videos from the album were Let Me Be the One, Come Inside, and Ribbon in the Sky.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Those were the only 3 videos. Love Thing did not.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Love Thing did not have a video. Like I said,
so maybe I heard it. Jesus.
Yeah, okay. You might have heard it. Like I said, the single was released on March. Now, this could be a little bit conflicting depending on what this was, because it says the album came out on March 22nd of 93. The single was released on March 25th. But
see what I'm saying?
I mean, now the dates could be a little bit conflicting, but be it the fact that this was a new group, and the song that was released.
Who were they signed to?
They were.
I know, but I just want the people.
Yeah, they were signed to Atlantic. They were a group. I think Eddie F found them. Which, if you listen to the album as we get into it, the bass sound. I call it the heavy D bass sound that Eddie F produced with.
I know exactly.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? There's a certain bass sound that it sounds like a lot of their up tempos on this album sounds like Heavy D, like it could have been a rap song for Heavy D with them singing the hook. You can so that's kind of like I wouldn't say it's an insider type thing, but if you pay attention and listen to it.
It's funny because you hear that sound on One Night Stand by Father MC. that was produced by IDF.
Also, you hear it in the In Living Color theme song. You hear it in what other heavy?
And no, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of Heavy D songs since Eddie F was a producer. But yeah, I heard Love Thing because they use that Edo G and Bulldogs sample.
That's what made me think it was a video to that.
Yeah, no, there was no video. No video.
Because they use a couple samples, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that because you could tell. Well, we'll talk about that. I just wanted to kind of set the album up in the time. So it's 1993. What do we have going on? Set the tone for 93. Because mind you, we're coming out of what we do. We're coming out of, let me see, R&B wise. We are coming out of Jodeci's. We're coming out of Boys to Men. So the R&B stuff is lining up, right? Silk is not out yet. They're signed, but they're not out yet. But this is the unfolding of the rollout of the R&B groups. You know, kind of Portrait, Joe Public. In that era, am I right? This is coming out of that. We're still the breakup of a guy. So Aaron Hall has a solo project. But so we got one R&B group that breaks up, but we got these guys. We got Rude Boys. So R&B groups right now, just 90s stepping into that era. This is that
Shy.
Oh yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Even I wasn't a big fan, but they were big. I mean, the single was big. Pause. The single was big, but I wasn't necessarily a fan. I get into my Shy rant.
That's for another show.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But so it's that kind of setup. So that's coming out of 92, falling into 93, and C.Boogie fall. Tell you what, the climate of March 93. I mean 93.
Yeah. I mean 93. I mean it's basically
H-Town too, by the way.
Yeah, I think. What was it? 93. You had the movies were what? Titanic, Jurassic Park.
Big movies.
On what was it? On TV, you had TV, Martin. Black comedies were just blacks on television was huge in the 90s, and especially
because you got to say this is Fox, so it's In Living Color. It's Fox really did a lot. I mean, Arsenio Hall's on fire. Yep. So yeah.
That is correct. But I mean that's basically the climate back in '93. But let's just get back to this album. So we're gonna go through the track list right now. We're gonna start out with the singles. Like we stated before, the first single was "Love Thing" that was released on March 25th of 1993. That was a Love Thing.
Listen. Okay, so Love Thing sample record, right? So let me ask you this: Edo G and the Bulldogs, correct?
Correct.
All right. Which was a group that came out in 90, 91. Ted, what's the guys? It was on the Awesome 2. I'm trying to remember the name. I know it was Teddy Ted and also, forget.
Was it K something?
Yeah, Special K and Teddy Ted.
Special K and Teddy, yep.
Awesome 2 discovered these guys out of Roxbury, Massachusetts, who came to New York, got a deal. Roxbury is the home of New Edition, by the way. And they were the first one to use the sample. Mm-hmm. Fast forward 3 years later, Edo G. So let me ask you this: with that being said, with the success of Mary J. Blige, mm-hmm. do we get intro using that sample? Do we get any ever singing over a sample?
No. As we know, Mary J. Blige introduced more of a hip hop feel into R&B and using basically hip hop samples. So, like I said, that opened up the floodgates to a whole new wave of music. This being one of those songs. The second single, which was also sample, was Let Me Be the One. That was released on June 17th, 1993.
Now, I don't know the original sample, but I know Brand Nubians used that. I don't know the original sample of the LOG either, but I know, those people. So they came out in 1990 with that sample.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I was going to say, oh no, actually, no, that was it. Yeah, that's correct. LOG and the Bulldogs. The second single, as we stated, Let Me Be the One. This song was, I would have to say, one of the best representations of hip hop being mixed with R&B. This was just, to me, this is a classic 90s R&B mashup.
Even the style of in which he sang it, the lead singer, and a lot of the runs and stuff were used. A lot of them were used after this record.
Yeah.
From men. If you listen to a lot of stuff that he did vocally, I'm just gonna keep it real. A lot of people borrowed that.
Yeah.
Throughout the 90s.
Right, and it wasn't a famous Jodeci. Ooh yeah.
No.
It wasn't
it was subtle stuff.
There was some stuff in there, but it wasn't overly bitten like Jodeci's runs were.
Right.
Or Boys to Men.
Right. They had that stuff, but it was subtle stuff that he did that a lot of people took from in that era.
And not to mention, they took it because he might have wrote one of their songs.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because you gotta think about it. Kenny Green was a singer, songwriter.
Right.
So this is "Let Me Be the One."
Let me be the one you come running to. Whenever you need it, whenever you come on, baby. Let me be the one. I wanna be the one. Whenever you need it, whenever you need it.
Here's the thing, man. These brothers, I don't know for what reason, didn't get the spotlight as they should. And I don't know if it's due to Atlantic not having, because who did Atlantic? Was Troop on Atlantic?
I believe they were.
It was some problems. Not problems, but it's no way that they should have got a bigger spotlight as a group than they did. And I can't figure, because the people that had the time, people were aware, and their peers knew what that was. But for some reason, I'm not sure if the label took advantage of that, because it was groups with less talent or just as much talent. They got a bigger platform, and I don't understand why.
Probably
even talk about to this day, they don't get talked about like everyone else.
Probably because, if you think about it, Jodeci and Boys to Men made such a huge impact from a group standpoint.
Talking to Mike.
Jodeci and Boys to Men made such a huge impact as far as from a group standpoint. When they came out, remember, Jodeci was still releasing songs and remixes into 93. Boys to Men came along, Motown Philly, they became pop. So they were steadily taking over as well. So you got to think about it. They came out in 93 after Kenny wrote for Mary J. Blige. After he got like 2 or 3 songs on her debut album. That might be
how he got the deal. But let me ask you this. But how does a Silk cut through then and not so much as Intro?
Because Silk didn't come along later to what, 95? 94, 95?
But what would be the
difference? Well, you know how quickly, I think when we're talking off record, the time between when Intro released their debut album and then when they released their second album, music started changing very quickly because not only were the groups taking off, but hip hop was coming in right on its heels. So the Chronic, West Coast, that was coming on the heels or beginning to, because remember Doggy Style came out in when? 93, 94?
No, 94, but
94.
Chronic was 92.
But what I'm saying is, that's West Coast. They already planted their flag with that. Chronic already established Snoop and was establishing Snoop and all that. So when they came out, Jodeci, Boyz II Men are already in effect rolling. So they were just, to me, they were a group that was signed off of Kenny, and they just happened to get caught up in
Even
everything.
H-Town, who came out the same year as Intro,
Knocking the
arguably
Boots.
a big single,
Yeah,
but
that was a good
Atlantic.
And then that's where, if you have two groups on the same label in the same markets,
This is what I'm saying.
who has the bigger song? Knocking the Boots was a much bigger song
But-
than anything that they released up to that point.
But here's the thing: who's more valuable to you?
Well,
Depending, I don't know Kenny's publishing situation or whatever, but the group still gets something from that, energy from that. If this guy writes for this person, that energy, but he's in this group, so they get songs as well. So why not? That's why I don't understand. Like, even if they got a hit record, I don't know if they necessarily had a hit album, but I know they had a hit record. And then they had troubles with Luke, and they going back and forth. But then these other guys who could have a body of work that can stretch longer than a hit record,
Right.
but it might not have a hit. You see what I'm saying?
right. But I mean, you got to understand, back then, all you needed was one. All you needed was one hit single, and you were and you got moved up. As far as record company was concerned, you got bumped to the top of the list because Knocking the Boots was a much bigger song than any other songs that they released.
But and here we go again, sample too.
True, that is correct. So, and this was also, I think, after the whole Bismarck sample thing, so people were starting to come back for money for their samples that was being used and all that. But that's another discussion. The next single that came out was Come Inside. That was released on September 30th of 1993, and that was their highest posting chart single that they released.
If you
Let me come inside. I'll keep you satisfied tonight. If you want me, if you need me, turn down all the lights. I'll make you feel alright tonight. Come on, come inside.
So that was Come Inside. That was actually the group's most successful song, as I stated previously. It reached number 33 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was number 9 on the R&B charts.
Come inside, what, Kenny? What you talking about, brother? I'm just playing. Everybody knows what the fuck this nigga.
We know what he's talking about.
Or did we?
Touche. Touche.
Well, but you know what? Solid third single.
Yeah.
These guys, man.
And I would dare to say a little R. Kelly-ish before R. Kelly. Just the content of the song. If you think about R. Kelly,
Because there's a woman
playing
on that
with
too, right?
That is correct. Well, yes, but I mean,
You know what? Now that I'm hearing the melody in my head, I do hear the R. Kelly.
right.
That
That was R. Kelly before.
It's like I'm hearing the riffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
The next single, It doesn't give a date, but it was released in 93. I'm assuming it was toward the end of 93. But it was the remake of a Stevie Wonder classic, Ribbon in the Sky.
If for love, may I touch your hand, and if please, may I once again, so that you too will understand. There's a ribbon in the sky for our love.
This is where it's like, okay, now 1993, Mary does Sweet Thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is in between Mary's first and second album. Anytime you do, even if you go to talent shows or hell, even karaoke, which is supposed to be fun, but people make karaoke into talent shows like it's serious. I'm like, people go there to get record deals. I didn't know that you're supposed to just get drunk and sing and be funny.
No,
but apparently,
people take it
I don't,
serious.
and it might, I don't know about anywhere else, but in Atlanta, it's serious. I don't know if people know, like it's dead serious. So I say that to say, it's certain songs that it's certain people that you gotta be very careful to do. We just talked about who did Mary do?
Sweet Thing.
So you get a little careful. I was careful as a Stevie Wonder because people don't play about that.
Right.
People don't play about that. People don't. I've seen people do Maxwell, and the two people I've seen do Maxwell, I'm not gonna lie, killed it.
But
when the
Maxwell.
people start off, no, because it's the high parts and all, and say so. But here's the thing: when people start off, there's always somebody that yells out, "Don't fuck it up!" Every time. So this is when I'm hearing this. I'm circling back around. When I'm hearing they're doing that. In my mind, I'm like, don't fuck it up. That's
watch yourself now.
Easy. Easy.
Hey, this boy flying too close to the sun. But in all seriousness, their version of Ribbon Sky.
Yo, you can't be mad.
You can't be mad at that.
It's nothing to be mad about.
Nothing to be mad about. Like I said, I appreciate their reworking of this song, and it's basically the arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
The way the vamp is, the way the runs are towards the end of the song, the background vocals, it elevated Stevie's song. It's not better, but it definitely elevated a work that he did, and we as I have to say, speaking for the black community, this version of Ribbon in the Sky is a very good one. If you played this one, nobody would be mad at you. If you played Stevie's, nobody would be mad at you. But in the area of cover songs, this was done very, very well.
Yeah, man, you can't front on it. Like C.Boogie said, the arrangement, man. That's just what made it a little different. I don't dare to say better, but there's a difference. And it's not an overbearing difference. It's a cool difference. I'll say, and they stayed right here with it.
In the pocket.
They didn't, and it wasn't down here where like you didn't even have to do that. What they did was right. And a lot of it is due to the fact that the lead singer, Kenny Green, is a writer himself.
Yeah.
Even though he's doing Stevie's song, he's a writer and arranger himself, and I think he knew how to play it, and that's really credit towards him.
Yeah. So let's get into the rest of the album. The next song is "Anything for You." How'd you feel about that one?
I did. You know what? this is my critique, and maybe I should save this for pros and cons. But one of the things that I'm finding when I went to revisit the album is that because Kenny has a signature sound and they don't really give the other guys leads, it starts to sound alike. Because they have nothing up-tempo crazy. It's mid-tempo to low, right?
Right.
You know, it's some punchy head bobbing thing, but it ain't dancing shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't have anything.
So and which is cool, but the problem is Kenny has such a distinctive voice that I think after a while it works against him.
Yeah. This song was it was cool. It wasn't bad. It wasn't overly good. It's just like, you know, when it comes on, my hand is not rushing to press fast forward. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was.
Because what's that? 3-4 songs in at that point?
That's actually the third song. I mean, outside the singles, that's the third song on the album.
Right.
The next song, "Why Don't You Love Me?" I didn't really feel that one. That's where this is where the album starts to dip a little bit. Mm-hmm. And again, it's that heavy D bass sound that I hear, and I'm just like, ugh. But that's just
now, being as though you have a background in music, do you think that's the thing? So you pick up on it, and that's that side of it, listening to it, or are you just listening to it for enjoyment?
No, well, if I separate myself from that, it's just that song is just. No, that's a song I reach for. Yeah. Fast forward to.
Okay.
What about you?
Same thing. It was cool. It's not a necessary record. Like, if y'all didn't have that on the record, I don't know. You gotta put that on the record. It wasn't one of them. You know what I'm saying? I can't see too many unless you're the actual producer himself fighting to get that song on the record.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, it's cool album for because we're still in the age of they want the 3 singles.
Right.
The label. You got 3 singles, the rest is whatever. You know.
And they actually have 4.
Yeah.
The next song is "It's All About You." Again, I'm not. I could have left.
This is where I get again. It's my only critique is Kenny. And they all start. He has a formula, and they tone to his voice. I'm trying to separate records now.
Right.
Like this one sounds like. He even has one where it sounds like the one he wrote for Mary on her album. Yeah. It starts off the same way. Yeah. The chimes, real light, the love that we reminisce.
Yeah.
Kenny wrote that, right?
He did.
They got a song on the album that sounds just like it in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, you did that record all over again.
Yeah. All right, so the next song is "Ribbon in the Sky." We already covered that. Now this is where the album starts to pick back up. This is kind of like the first slow song that we get. This is "Don't Leave Me."
Mm-hmm.
Now I think this is a great song. It's a great song.
It is.
And actually, Kenny, Buddy, and Jeff. So basically, the group helped write this song as well. Now, it could be because there's some talking parts on it. Probably that's what they may have.
Yeah. It's definitely some talking parts.
Yeah, there's some talking parts on this, so they might have. That's where they might have gotten their publisher.
Hey, I need to get talking point.
I need a point for talking.
Yeah, can you copyright conversations? Jeez.
But yeah, I love "Don't Leave Me." That's a good song.
Does she get copyright on?
I'm not sure.
You see what I'm saying?
That's a good question. That leads into "Come Inside," which you already discussed.
Right.
The next song, "One of a Kind Love," very good song. I enjoyed this song.
I did too.
As well.
I did too.
Who
produced that
one? Neville Hodge.
Okay.
He produced that. The next song, which I think this is the one may sound like Mary or gives Mary vibes. "So Many Reasons."
Yep.
A very good song. I'm not mad at him about this one at all. I thought this was a good song towards ending the album. And actually, one of the guys that worked on Mary's album as well, Dave Jam Hall, produced this.
Here's
as well.
the thing. Kenny is to
Nah.
Kenny-
I think I know what you're about to say,
Yeah.
but go ahead and say it.
Kenny is to
Dave Hall.
no. Kenny is the RL of next.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Kenny is to Dave as Tim is to Missy, because
that could be, but
I don't mean it.
I'm saying from like when you get RL from the group next R&B group, you could tell his style when you give it to whoever. Whether it's Jaheim, the Coffee Brown, the whoever, and there was the signature sound with the production, but it's not from a production standpoint. I'm calling them RL, calling them from a writer standpoint.
Gotcha.
So when I hear the stuff, some of the stuff that Kenny did with Mary, he did some shit with Ashanti before.
But okay, so explain that to me, because Ashanti,
When she was
she had to be super young.
No, this is when she was living here in Atlanta, and she was signed to what's that? The studio.
Noontime?
Yeah, this was back then.
Okay.
That's how that comes, because I was like the same thing, but I had to remember she was signed to a production deal with Noontime. That's how she got to Atlanta. So that's where that comes from.
Okay, because I remember you said something like that before, and I was like,
Yeah. It was the Noontime situation. It wasn't the Herb situation.
Gotcha. And then the last song on the album is Ecstasy of Love. I could have done without it. It didn't move me either way.
I think this might have been the last year of Ecstasy on records from R&B people. Let me tell you something. In the 80s, every group had a song where they were taking a woman to ecstasy, and what was the other one?
Well, I thought you were getting ready to go somewhere else with it.
No. They would say a song, and I'll take you to. I'm like, and they made, especially there's a lot of sweet love being made. I made sweet love to you, opposed to what?
Because I thought you were about to say, there's a lot of ecstasy. I mean, certain words like a lot of ecstasies, a lot of nature rising.
No, that's what I was doing. That's exactly what I was saying.
Okay.
You said the other one, because that was the next one. For some reason, making the nature rise was a big deal. And at least that phrase, like, what?
A lot of brothers was in tune with Mother Nature back then.
She made my nature rise.
And so,
The funny thing is, when the fuck have you ever heard that in a real conversation?
when have you? What would make you say that to a young lady? Girl,
You get hot and heated in the car.
I'm gonna take you to ecstasy, girl.
Yeah.
You know what? You making my nature
You're
rise.
making my nature rise. I might pay $50 just to hear a nigga say that in real life.
I think I'd pay $100 for the response. I don't care if you say it. I want to know, what did the young lady say to you?
Any nigga that said that was in the Cadillac with a fur coat on.
And a pack of Cool 100. And a fifth of E&J.
There you go. And a flask and ready to go. Go.
Sit here, baby.
Get your goofy ass the fuck out of here. That's what she said. Slaying that Cadillac. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, Tyrell. Fuck out of here. But it's just certain lyrics from the time. It's hilarious.
Okay, so that was the album. We're gonna get to pros, cons, and conclusions right now. So please, Mo, tell me what your pros, cons, and well, let's start with the pros.
Pros, I would say my pro is that they have the pen of Kenny. They're self-contained as far as writing is concerned. I think that's a pro. They have a signature audio sound as the group, not sonically with the music, but sonically with the vocals or vocal. That's my, the self-contained thing you can write from your heart. You can keep it in the group and you can develop it your own, and you're not being forced to sing this song or whatever the case may be. It's more natural. So to have that in the group, I think for me is a pro. And yours? Pro?
Pro. Again, Kenny's songwriting, his vocals, as you stated, the self-containment. I also think for their singles, outside of Love Thing, again, I think back in the 90s, single selection was very, very important. Like A&Rs back then made their money. They had to, because they had to pick the right songs, the catchy songs, the songs that would be on radio, and they actually
and they picked the right ones.
Yeah.
They were pretty, and maybe that was the difference in when we talk about 90s R&B and why it was so popular. Maybe the A&R direction was just really good.
There was direction.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? There was A&R direction. It wasn't just, I like this song, let's put it out, as as they're doing
or
today.
no, your people like I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Or an A&R who sabotages you and say, put this out when you wanted something different. You know what I'm saying? And it just goes to show whose voice may have been louder at the record company, or listen to the A&R, they listen to the artist. But yeah, those were my pros. Your cons.
My cons, number one is not enough for the fellas, of the other fellas. Not enough identification, because it is a group. And even though you got a guy singing, if not all the records, it's still a group, and you have to establish the group. Even if they have different jobs, this guy might do all the talking. This guy might be the stylist of the group, but that needs to be highlighted so we fall in love with the group. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Not enough of that for me, and I think that makes the group suffer. Doesn't make Kenny suffer, but it makes the group suffer. And then the second part is Kenny's style is very specific in the way he writes. You could tell it's him. And if you do not shake the order up and throw a monkey wrench in there and let one guy get a slow record or something to kind of switch it, the monotony up of the sound, it's like the dope thing that worked for you works against you. Now, certain songs and certain tempos start to sound alike.
Yeah.
So I think that would need to be broke up. So if I had a con, that would be kind of like the con. And yourself?
Yeah. My con is along the same lines of you. It's like, even though Kenny was a lead singer, you did need to break it up. There was no separation between, like, somebody has different hair color or somebody dressed wild. I mean, like, the only difference you could tell between them is one of them was clean shaven.
Right.
One had a goatee, the other one had a beard and a goatee. But they were just average guys. It was basically kind of like Kenny and his background singers. You know what I'm saying? And it was
Bobby Brown and Heart and Soul.
Basically, Heart and Soul was probably more famous than those two when they're in a
because they were dancing. Because it wasn't like these guys were hot. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing that. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Also, I think one of the cons is, as I stated numerous times in this episode, just the sounds of in some of the songs, like the heavy D bass. You can tell. Like I said, if you're into production,
synthesized bass,
it's Eddie F, and you kind of get tired of hearing that sound.
And he makes it bounce too.
It
does that. Yeah, he's playing it on the keyboard. Yeah, and you can tell.
And it kind of gets tired. Like I said, there's only
he's a dope producer. Don't get me wrong. I love Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of stuff. I mean, but out of 11 songs on the album, I would say if 60% of the album has that bass sound. And don't get me wrong, back then there were sounds that a lot of people used. They used either not necessarily that heavy D bass, but there's like a bass sound or like the orchestra stabs. You know what I'm saying?
The ASR was very popular.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The SP12 was popular. Right. Like I said, like I was telling him, you knew if you had a budget on an album, if you had a real saxophone player. That's just my take on it.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you played saxophone-ish type of runs while doing your keyboard solo, we knew that you didn't have the money for a saxophone player. But other than, like I said, not standing out, those were, like I said, those were my cons. And it's kind of going into today where, just to get off of this album real quick, they've come back, but now their lead singer is an original member of Drew Hill.
Original?
He's an original. Before they were signed, he was
and
an
then he
original.
came back and then he left again.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're talking about, what's the brother's name?
Teo.
I just started following them too. And shout out to Buddy and Jeff for hanging in there and putting that together. I wish them brothers luck, man. It's a tough act to follow. And you've been off the scene for a minute.
Real quick, story time. I met Buddy. Me and my group met Buddy.
I met Buddy.
Yeah, were we in New York together?
No, I'm lying. I met, which one's Buddy? I met Jeff at.
Buddy is the one with the beard and the goatee. Jeff is the clean-shaven one.
Jeff is the one I met at, what's the name studio? Alex, when he had the studio downtown on Marietta Street.
Oh, okay.
700, and we were waiting on Tupac.
Oh, okay.
To come land from the airport. Tiante was there.
Tiante was the one that how we met Buddy.
This is
but
what
we
I'm
met him
saying.
in New York.
And we gotta tell you stuff.
Well, it's been so long. I vaguely remember, but me and my group, we were up in New York, and we were with a good friend of ours by the name of Tiante, and somehow he had a connection with Intro, and we ended up meeting and hanging out with Buddy. And we were supposed to connect up with some other people in the industry or whatever, but I don't think we did. So, like I said, we ended up hanging out with like Buddy for the evening, that type of thing. So that was my story time with Intro.
Okay.
Yours?
Yeah. Just in the studio, Buddy was supposed to. I forgot how it went, but I know he was in touch with Tupac's mother.
You mean Jeff?
Jeff. My bad, Jeff. And we were waiting for Tupac to come in town,
Mm-hmm.
and we were at the studio. And he's just 94. He never showed up. I can't remember. I never remember him calling the house in Stone Mountain. And I mean, with no disrespect, I think she was fresh out of rehab. But they were handling Tupac's family handled his business. I don't know if people knew that. So when he talked about took care of my family, he gave his family jobs. So they were handling his business, and we're waiting for him to come in. But I had met him before then, but I didn't know that day, so Alex was like, we waiting on Tupac, and, I don't know if Jeff was supposed to sing, because I didn't really know Jeff to be a singer like that, but, I don't know, he just wind up not showing up, or plane came in late, or wind up coming another day. That was the only story I had. But until you said that, I forgot all about, because I always get confused between Buddy and Jeff, but it was the clean shaven one.
Yeah. So, conclusion.
Conclusion, man, overlooked group. I don't think Kenny is an overlooked writer and producer. Writer, but as a group, I think they were overlooked. Not because of the talent, I just think of the timing. If they would have came a little later or a little earlier, I think they were sandwiched in between a lot of other groups, and they were the first group to really use R&B male group to use a sample. Jodeci did it, but they did it on a remix. These were the first guys to do it on an original record.
Yeah, like their main single.
Yeah. First two or whatever that was, singles.
Yep.
Yeah, so they were the first ones, but I also think if Mary J. Blige wouldn't have done it, nobody would have done it. But they were the first male group, to my knowledge, to drop a single. Not a remix, and I know people who go in there with the Jodeci. Those are remixes. I'm talking about the original record.
Yeah.
Yours?
Again, I think it's a really good album. Like I said, minus the two songs, actually the three songs that we discussed.
It's not bad. That's not bad at all.
No, it's not bad. Not really not bad at all. And actually, like I said, this for this to be their debut album, I think it's a good strong contender. Like I said, I think they just got caught up in the sauce with just timing and everything. But they definitely had the talent. Like I said, the writing was there. It's just that you know, them coming in when they did, and then, you know, as far as like their second LP, which unfortunately didn't do anything from a commercial standpoint, but as far as this particular album goes, I still think it stands the test of time. That's just
no 1,000. That's a great point. When you talk about listening to it now and aging well, it actually did age well, samples and all. So shout out to them brothers, man. They on the road now. I know they doing spot days. I see them. So shout out to y'all, man. The whole crew. Reintroducing yourself back out to the public. You might as well. Everybody else is back out there, especially this time of year, spring, summer. Got the festivals and these tours. Yeah. So, hey, man, with that being said, we're closing out another episode of Run That Back Podcast. I am Scorpio Moe.
I am C.Boogie.
And this is the Run That Back Podcast. See ya.
Run that